So today I'm going to be giving you 5 key tips to help you win more gunfights, raise your KDA, and just improve your overall skill as a player in Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Yo, what's going on guys, Stealthy's here, welcome back to the channel, and as you just heard, today I'm going to be giving you 5 tips that I think will really help you guys improve and get better at Modern Warfare. So right off the bat, tip number 1 is going to be something I see new players doing wrong all the time, and that is to never slow peek corners. So in Modern Warfare, and pretty much in any online multiplayer FPS, there's a thing called peeker's advantage. Now in Call of Duty specifically, some people call it cameraing or breaking the camera, but it's pretty much just peeker's advantage, it's all the same thing. And I won't get into the technical details, but pretty much what peeker's advantage is that small window of time you get between you doing something with your character, like pushing a corner, and the delay it takes for the server to send your new position to the other players in the game. So what this means is that whenever we want to push a corner in Modern Warfare, we want to be doing it quickly, because if we do it slowly, the enemy is going to see us slowly pushing around the corner and we're going to completely remove our peeker's advantage. The best way to actually make peeker's advantage work in our favor is to when we're pushing a corner, we want to quickly sprint and jump around it, or do the same thing but slide around it. This is going to give us the biggest possible window of time where we can see the enemy, but we haven't even appeared on their screen yet. The best way to practice this is to just load into a custom game and just practice jumping or sliding around every single corner on the map. Just implementing this one tip correctly is going to help you win so many more gunfights, especially against those players that love to hide in a corner and wait for people to walk past. So another huge mistake I see new players making is not pre-aiming where they think enemies are going to be. In Call of Duty, you always want to be aiming where you think enemies are going to appear. This is going to cut down on the time it takes for you to center your crosshair on an enemy after you've seen them. This is going to save you even more time if you are actually aiming down sights instead of just centering your crosshair. And so, as you might have guessed, tip number 2 is going to be, always center your crosshair where you think an enemy is going to be. If you are inexperienced with the maps, this tip's going to take a little bit of time to start implementing into your game. If that's the case, just try and think after every death, have I died from a player standing in that position before? If the answer is yes, then you probably want to start aiming at that spot every time you go past it from now on. Once you've mastered this tip, it's going to be so much harder for enemies to get the jump on you because you're always going to be ready and looking out for where they could be. So the third tip I'm going to be giving you guys today is a huge one, and that is to use meta classes. So if you guys haven't heard of the word meta before, what it means is most effective tactic available. So what this means in Call of Duty is using the right gun with the right attachments, the right perks, the right lethals, the right tacticals, and you get my point. This tip is probably going to have the biggest impact on your game because you can apply it instantly no matter your skill level. I'm not going to be listing any guns or classes in this video just because I don't want the information to become outdated if they release a patch. But if you do want to see some gun guides for the meta guns and attachments, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I will have some gun guides out soon, or depending when you watch this video, they might already be out. If you are looking for a build for a specific gun, just search it up on YouTube, there'll be heaps of videos that pop up and most of them will be pretty good, you can just use one of them. Just before we get to tip number 4 guys, if you are finding the video helpful, please make sure to drop a like, it really helps me out and I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to see more guides like this to help you improve as a player in Call of Duty, make sure you subscribe to the channel because there'll be more guides out soon. Let's get back to the tips. And that's going to bring us to tip number 4, which is all about killstreaks. So I've seen new players make this mistake a lot and it basically just boils down to using unrealistic killstreaks. I've seen a lot of Call of Duty YouTubers give advice to new players saying they should use killstreaks that they don't think they can get, which is meant to make the new player push themselves or play more strategically to get these high killstreaks. But in my experience, what I've seen these new players do is instead play super campy, which doesn't really help them improve as a player. Instead, my advice would be to try put on some more realistic killstreaks and actually try to consistently earn those killstreaks. And when I say earn those killstreaks, I don't mean just camp in a building or sit in a corner, I mean actually go out and earn them. If you want to improve as a player, you have to actually get out there on the map, run and gun, learn the flow, learn the spawns, and you're not going to do that camping in a corner. The killstreaks I would recommend for a new player are personal radar, UAV, and then either cluster strike, cruise missile, or airstrike. Having your kill streaks set to your 3rd, 4th, and 5th kill are much more realistic for a new player instead of having a Wilson or a VTOL that you'll just never get. If you are a slightly more experienced player and you want to get a lot more kills with your kill streaks, I'd recommend UAV, VTOL, and support helo. But at the end of the day, no matter what your skill level is, you want to make sure your kill streaks are working for you instead of you working for your kill streaks. Now let's get on to our 5th and final tip for today's video. Now this tip's going to be the hardest to implement into your gameplay straight away because it's going to take some time to figure out. So tip number 5 is going to be play to the flow of the map. Every map in Call of Duty has a certain flow to it. And what I mean by that is that every map in Call of Duty has a certain pace or a certain speed, even direction that the map is meant to be played. And once you figure out the flow for certain maps, you unlock so much potential to completely dominate on those maps. Just to give you guys an example of two maps with drastically different flows, we can think about Rust and we can think about Azir Cave. Rust is going to have a very fast flow, it's a very fast paced map, and Azir Cave is going to be a very slow paced map. And what I'm getting at with this is that if you try and play Azir Cave like it's Rust, you're probably going to get run over by people just sitting on the sides, playing it a little slower, they're just going to dominate you. And if you're trying to play Rust like it's Azir Cave, then you're probably a camper, so you probably want to grab a notebook, go back to the start of the video and start taking some notes. But the flow of a map isn't just about its speed, it's also about knowing the hot spots on a map and also the cold spots on a map. If we continue using Azir Cave as an example, we can think about the side of the map that's opposite the cave. In most game modes, that side of the map is mainly just used to flank around and get into the enemy spawn, while the middle and the cave side of the map are highly contested hot zones that you're guaranteed to find people in. Now that's a very simple example, but it can get a lot more complicated than that. It basically just comes down to knowing how everyone else plays the map. And you don't really want to try and do something different to everyone else, because you're just going to run into players, you're just going to get shot on the side, you kind of want to just go with the flow. Now I know it sounds a little bit complicated, a little bit intimidating, but I promise you if you play the maps a couple of times, you'll start figuring it out, you'll start seeing patterns emerge, and it'll get a lot simpler. And there you have it guys, those were my top 5 tips to help you improve as a Call of Duty Modern Warfare player. I really hope that you found those tips helpful and that you're able to implement them into your own gameplay. If you did find any of these tips useful, it would really help me out in return if you could leave a like on this video. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them down below, I'll be happy to answer them. And if you enjoy these types of Call of Duty guides, make sure to subscribe to the channel because there's more to come. And with that said, hope you guys enjoyed the video, I'll see you guys next time.